You are listening to Skin, Earth, Vitality, the podcast where ancient wisdom meets modern vitality. If you are seeking to reconnect with your innate vibrancy, you're in the right place. I'm Emily Davis, a seasoned holistic esthetician and herbalist. Join me as we unlock the secrets of ancient skincare practices, explore the beauty of seasonal and nature-based living, herbalism, and true holistic well-being for you and the broader ecosystem. This podcast is brought to you by Stratum Aesthetics. Head to stratumaesthetics.com to find curated skincare, body care, and other wellness products hand-selected by me. Now enjoy the show. Hello there. This is a midweek bonus episode, and I wanted to pop on for this little shorty bonus episode today to talk about energetic, emotional, cognitive sovereignty. And I want to talk about this because I care very much about this being a space that reminds you of your own authority, whether that is when it comes to appearance, when it comes to health, your physical body, when it comes to your energetic, spiritual, emotional, mental bodies. And I want to bring this up because it's something that I'm constantly working on and have been for the last 5 years. I'm not always perfect at it by any means, but my hope is that I can offer something to help you because we have to take care of each other. And when you have that mental agency and you're not sucked up in all of the noise outside of you, you're able to bring your light into the darkness, and we all need that from each other. There's been a lot of energetic and spiritual chaos. My breath has been taken away by some of the heinous things I've seen on social media, not the least of which was, without consent, opening my phone the other day to watch a murder, to watch someone's last breath. I can't believe that this is just like part of social media now, that's not behind some type of heavy censorship, that we're just seeing these horrific things on these apps where there's children. I'm just like, what the fuck? And since then, without my consent, I've seen some of the most demonic things spoken out by people online. My jaw has been on the floor. I'm just like, what is happening? So I'm really stripping down and doing another very stringent cleanup of what I'm consuming online. And I've been having to put my phone in the drawer often because I sometimes just don't have self-control when it comes to consuming. I'm like, I just have to see more. There's like this little gremlin in there that's like, if I just get to the end of the internet, I'll understand it all and everything will feel better. But instead, I try to pull myself out of that mindset. I delete the apps off of my phone all the time. And then I put my phone in the drawer. And it is wild how different I feel when the phone is in the drawer. It's not in sight. My whole body feels completely different, and that's obviously telling me something. I was listening to Cal Newport this weekend. I very much enjoy his podcast, and he had one that was about how to become a better thinker. I'll link it. It was a really good one. And I think the video was from like 3 months ago, and he was talking about not getting your news from social media, which I agree with, but then also like I kind of don't agree with because you need to be very cognizant of where you're getting your news from. I certainly am not going to get my news from legacy media because I think it's a self-censoring apparatus because of how structurally incentivized it is. I think they've probably never had the plot, and we're just seeing that now. The veil has been lifted. So getting media from a very good, unbiased news source is what I prefer. But also, I do enjoy some of the social commentators on TikTok. I think there's a lot of really intelligent people on there. So I agree, but I don't agree. But the point of what he was saying was not getting your news from social media, getting it from somewhere else so that you're not immediately seeing what your tribe thinks of something. And he was suggesting instead that you keep a document of current events and you write out what you think about it. And I'm just a big fan of writing because it helps you to clarify your thinking. And I also think creating is just so good for your brain. So I loved that idea. So I'll link that because I really liked it. And it's just so true. Like we get into this tribalism, this tribal thinking, and it's hard to decipher what you think versus the people who you respect and who you've agreed with on things in the past. But I think that's causing some problems. And another thing I've been thinking about is just in the midst of a tragedy or a big event that stirs up the collective, it's so easy to wonder, like, why am I doing this work? Why am I releasing podcasts? And I've seen other people posting, like, I don't feel like my work matters anymore. I don't feel like I should be sharing during this time. But my thoughts usually go to like, oh my gosh, I have to work harder now. Like I have to get my message out. There's a world that people with a vision have to build. And I do believe that this work that I'm doing is important right now because tending to yourself holds your soul together. And my hope is that it helps keep some humanity intact in a dehumanizing world. My hope is that it interrupts despair and it's a reminder that life still exists. You know, this harmony of our body with nature and our soul is what keeps us from just being devoured by ugliness, I think. And if you're listening to this, you came here at this time and in this place for a reason. I do believe that your soul chose it for the lessons and for the purpose that you are here to fulfill. Some parts of this year have felt really reminiscent of the early COVID years, where I felt very dark at that time because for the first time in my life, I felt this despair about our government and about people and their capacity to dehumanize each other. And my biggest regret from that time was getting wrapped up in that fear and letting it paralyze me for a while. There's this tweet from Brendan Burchard that says, "Let them panic, you build." And I have that written out on a note card. And I've kept it on my desk and come back to it time and time again as anything big happens in the world. And to me, it's just a reminder of like not getting wrapped up in the big current collective thing that people are getting wrapped up in. And it is not to say that I don't care about these things because I care deeply, but I also have to not get wrapped up and panic about things because I have something that I'm here to build. I have this purpose. I do believe that I'm fulfilling my calling from God doing this work. And part of this work is sovereignty, and that includes my own sovereignty, of course. And so what does that word mean? It's about belonging to yourself first and not getting swept up and swept away in the voices of the internet. And when people don't reclaim sovereignty, it is so easy to get swept up in this version of reality that's designed to keep you frantic and fragmented. And I see that what happens when we get into this space, it just inflames that tribal identity and it promotes outrage politics. I've been muting and unfollowing people for about a year now. I've gotten very liberal with the unfollow button when they post outrage posts. Like, sorry, bye, I'm not doing this, because It rocks me off my center without my consent. And half the time, these posts are not even true. Like, I will go look into these pithy reposts and they aren't based on fact. People are just saying something that fits their agenda, and then it gets circulated like wildfire, and it steals my cognitive autonomy. And I care a lot more about that than following random people on the internet out of politeness. I do believe that there is a force that feeds on disempowerment. And if that feels like too out there for you, like it can also just be in a practical way, like the machine feeds off of itself. But I think that humans are capable of way more than we've been led to believe. I think we are reality makers. You know, if we are created in the image and likeness of God, the ultimate creator, what amazing creators we must be ourselves. We are a reflection of that. And I think that this is fractured by mass fear and hatred, and this energy is harvested. And part of that fear is manufactured on purpose because it keeps us small and not in our magic. Things do feel dark at points, and I think it's important to acknowledge that and not bypass it, and let yourself be a human in the world and grieve and feel sad and angry and whatever you need to feel. And at the same time, the same mechanism that makes fear contagious can also make love contagious. I believe it can ripple out just as fast, if not faster, but it requires consciousness, not reactivity. We don't fight darkness. We need to just stop feeding it. And your coherence, your clear attention is a shield and a light source. Every single time that you choose joy, every time you take care of your body, tend to your space, speak with kindness when you could have been unkind, you are planting seeds for this new earth. The world wants you to panic, but the divine wants your presence, and you get to choose who you feed. You're that powerful. So when we can tend to our emotional and spiritual faculties, we're able to override this. And I just think that the world that we live in now, this is part of our hygiene, and it's so important to tend to our temple because this is the container for your spirit. And when you're dysregulated, you're reactive, right? So I'm going to give you some tips and tricks that I have used that have helped me. The first one, these are all just like nervous system regulation practices. The first one is putting your bare feet on the earth. This is grounding your body. It's grounding your field, pulling you out of the matrix and back into resonance with the planet. Next is eating warm, nourishing meals at consistent times. Both Ayurveda, Chinese medicine, a lot of these ancient systems are really big on eating like warm cooked food all the time. Warm soups, porridges, stews, these are very regulating to your system, very calming. And I'm telling you this from my own experience. I've been shocked at how like a bowl of congee, which is like a rice porridge, you can look up a recipe online. I should put one on my website, but I have been so amazed at how calming and grounding eating foods like this is. Eating sweet potatoes, squash, all these lovely cooked grounding foods. And the rhythm of eating at consistent times also calms our nervous system. That blood sugar balance is going to be helpful for emotional regulation, better psychic boundaries. And I just mean like better cognitive boundaries there. Having no screens after dark, having that boundary with yourself. So blue light after sundown is going to confuse your circadian rhythm. I talked about that on the podcast in the last episode. These are all things that are meant to help with keeping your mental faculties intact. This blue light just like floods your system with synthetic information, really. And so reclaiming your night is so important. And with that, doing a nighttime wind down ritual. This is a non-negotiable for me. I quit drinking for the most part, mostly because it messes up my nighttime ritual, and I'm so obsessed with that now. So for me, that looks like herbal tea, candlelight, magnesium on my feet, sometimes a foot bath to ground me back down, take my energy out of my head and down to my feet. Some journaling. I do a list of 10 things I'm grateful for every single night. And then I also send love to 3 people who are annoying me. I do breath work, lots of deep breaths to support the lungs, especially in the fall. And then anything that just says, we're closing the portal to the outside world now. It is my space now. And then with that, not waking up and diving straight into your phone. Again, this is a great time to have your phone far away from you. Maybe it's in a drawer. I turn mine off every night now. But give your own soul a chance to speak to you. Give yourself a chance to speak to God before you let the world speak at you. I talked about Yoga Nidra and how I love it because it helps me feel like I am closing out all of the mental tabs that I have open and just like clearing my brain out. Yoga Nidra is kind of like a cousin to meditation, and it has a lot of really interesting science supporting how beneficial it is for your mind and your body. But I say that they're cousins because meditation is asking you to do something and to focus, but Yoga Nidra asks you to not do anything. The idea is to totally surrender and just be led inward. And it's a practice that gives your nervous system, both your subconscious and conscious mind, like a little massage. And what you do with Yoga Nidra, I always say first, make sure that your phone is on Do Not Disturb. Again, this is something I've learned from experience because it really sucks when a phone call comes through when you're right in the middle of this practice. You want to set an alarm because you might fall asleep and lie down comfortably. So they call it your Yoga Nidra nest, and this is using pillows and blankets so that you just feel fully supported, warm, comfortable. Just like when you sleep, your body temperature is going to get lower, and so you do want to have a blanket and maybe some socks on. Put in a pair of headphones, close your eyes or put an eye mask over, and then listen to a guided recording. I love this girl on YouTube, Allie Boothroyd. I listen to hers almost every day in the afternoon, and it's so good. It has changed my life. It has changed my response to fear in a really big way. And so you put on the recording and then you just fully let go of effort. You just follow along, and they take you through different layers. You first focus on like breath, and then you go through your body, and it's not really like a body scan, but kind of. And it just takes you into this incredible space where you're very lightly aware. You're like somewhere between awareness and sleep. And I cannot recommend this enough. When you finish, you want to just take a minute to notice how you feel. In the thing, she always talks about like letting these biochemicals that you've created flood your system. Notice how good that feels. So those are just a couple of things that I think are really important for caring for this container for your spirit. The next thing I want to just share, I've been reading this book called Humankind, A Hopeful History. And I think that it's been the best thing I could have picked up during this week when there's a lot of social unrest. And this is a book talking about how we have been led to believe that people are mostly bad, but the data actually shows that people are mostly good. When there are crises, when there are disasters, the data shows that humans actually help each other, they're there for each other, and they are good. And in a time when it's very easy to feel hatred, there are people who I follow who are like showing videos of other people just being their absolute worst. And so I've been reading this book, and then I've been getting online afterwards, and I'll be like, whoa, like this is so gross. And I feel horrible about the world right now. And then go back to this book, and I'm like, I just love everyone. I'm so grateful that we're here together in this experience. And it's like very interesting. Creators who do comment on society and on politics grow really fast during times like this. And I think that they are doing what they think is right. They're fighting for their side. But I also think that their posts are quite inflammatory on purpose because they grow really fast. All right. So this, of course, would not be complete without me sharing the herbs that I find helpful during these times, mostly leaning on nervines, which are herbs that support your nervous system. So my first, the one that I always rely on anytime I have anxiety, anytime I'm upset, is passion flower. The flower looks like a cartoon. It's so cute. I love her. But she will just calm you immediately. And so I like passion flower in a tincture form, especially for panic attacks, for anxiety attacks, for just like I'm feeling overwhelmed and I don't know what to do. So I'll just put a couple of dropperfuls of passion flower in a little shot of water. Passion flower is not the best taste. It's quite floral, almost perfumey. And so you may want to finish it with some juice or something like that after. Chamomile is another great friend of mine. So calming, so basic in many people's eyes, but just such a lovely hug in a mug. I prefer chamomile as a tea myself, but you can get it in a tincture. Tulsi, lemon balm, catnip, hops. I love all of these as teas. I think that the ritual of tea, just again, drinking something warm, is very calming. But one other plant that I really love as a tincture is milky oat seed. And so milky oat seed, the oat seed actually has like this milky latex in it when it's fresh. And so it needs to be tinctured fresh so that that milky latex is extracted into the alcohol. And so this is why this needs to be taken in a tincture form. And this one actually helps to repair frayed nerves. That was one of my favorite things I learned in herbalism school. And this is one for when you've just like had too much screen time, too much internet. This one can help bring you back to earth. It's a very grounding one. Another one of my very, very favorite plants to work with. So again, you would look for that as like milky oat seed tincture online. That's one that I would probably get from a small maker because they for sure have done it fresh. So yeah, that's what I have for you today. I hope that these practices are helpful. I'm sending you so much love. I'm grateful that you are here listening. I'm grateful for the community that I'm building. And I hope you take this and, like I said, bring your light out into the darkness. Have a beautiful day. You've been listening to Skin, Earth, Vitality. If you like what you heard today, consider giving me a 5-star rating. It helps other people just like you to find the show. You can shop products and find all of my offerings on my website, stratumaesthetics.com, and follow me on my social channels at Stratum Aesthetics.